Okay, so if you just finished IT Welcome to Derry and your brain is doing that thing where it's like, wait, when does this happen? And how is this connected to the movies? Good, because that's exactly what the show wants. This isn't a prequel that politely fills in some backstory and then leaves. It's a prequel that reaches forward, grabs the movies by the collar, and says, no, you're watching this wrong. Because the finale does three huge things. It confirms where the monster came from. It confirms why certain places in Chapter 1 matter. And it ends with a flash forward that basically turns a Chapter 2 scene into a full circle nightmare. So today, we're building the clean timeline, earliest to latest, and I'm going to separate it into three buckets the whole way through: what the show confirms, what it strongly implies, and what is still unknown. Spoilers for Welcome to Derry Season 1, and both It movies. Let's go. First, the one rule you need to remember for this entire franchise: the 27-year cycle. Pennywise surfaces, feeds, then goes back down for about 27 years. Then he's back. Welcome to Derry doesn't break that rule. It explains what's been controlling it. And that brings us to the earliest timeline point that matters. 1. Before the town. The cosmic origin plus the CAGE. Confirmed. The show ties its origin to a cosmic impact, a not-from-here arrival, with the Deadlights connected to that origin. And then it adds the big new lore piece. The Shokopiwa people have been containing it using these magical caging pillars. Think of the pillars like the bars of a jail cell. If they're standing, it can't fully spread beyond Derry. If the bars come down, the monster doesn't just hunt, it expands. That's why the fog in the finale isn't just spooky atmosphere. It's the cage failing. And this is where Episode 4's little campfire story moment actually matters. The show visualizes its arrival like an impact event, with the Deadlights surrounded by that smoky haze, basically telling us this thing is less ghost and more cosmic infection. So when the pillars get messed with, it's not like releasing a tiger from a cage. It's like cracking open a containment chamber. Now here's the first direct connection to Chapter 1. The dagger Lily finds, the thing used to relock the cage, is made from the same cosmic rock as the pillars, and it's tied to the spot where Kneibolt House gets built later. Yes, 29 Kneibolt Street. So Welcome to Derry is basically saying Kneibolt isn't random. It's the infected core, the cursed ground, the crash site ripple that the town built over and pretended was normal. And if you're wondering, okay, so where does the Pennywise mask come from? That's 1908. 2. 1908. How Pennywise becomes a face. Welcome to Derry jumps back to 1908 to show us something the movies only ever hinted at. Confirmed. There's a human circus performer named Bob Gray who performs as Pennywise, the dancing clown, and it adopts that identity, meaning Pennywise isn't just a random clown design. And that also explains why the clown persona stays so consistent across the movies. Because a clown isn't just scary. A clown is an invitation. Kids are supposed to trust it, approach it, laugh with it. And that's the whole trick. It's a stolen mask that worked. It's a costume it learned could get close to kids fast. This also matters because of Ingrid Kirsch. Welcome to Derry ties Ingrid directly to Bob Gray, and by the end of Season 1, it's making a very clear point. The Mrs. Kirsch nightmare in Chapter 2 isn't just a creepy old woman. It's Pennywise using Ingrid's face as a weapon. Because Ingrid is a real person with real trauma that Derry buried. Keep Ingrid in your pocket. We're coming right back to her in 1988. But before we jump forward, there's one more year the show keeps flagging. 1935. 3. 1935. The chapter we've only glimpsed. Confirmed. Season 1 gives us glimpses of 1935, and it's clear Pennywise was active during that cycle. Strongly implied. The show is designed to keep moving backward through time. Season 1 is 1962, then the next major chapter is 1935, then 1908. So if Season 1 felt like it was laying railroad tracks instead of finishing every story, yeah, that's on purpose. Now, with that roadmap, we land in the main present day of the show, 1962. 4. 1962, the big connective tissue year. Confirmed. Welcome to Derry Season 1 is set in 1962, with a short prologue a few months earlier. And this year is where the show plugs into the movies in the loudest ways. Let's start with the easiest one, the Hanlons. In It 2017, we meet Mike Hanlon on the sheep farm with his grandfather, Leroy Hanlon, giving him that brutal, this is how life is lesson. Welcome to Derry takes that same Leroy Hanlon and shows him decades earlier. Different stage of life, same town, same darkness. And the show also gives us Will Hanlon, Leroy's son. The series doesn't stop and say, this kid grows into Mike's dad. But it doesn't really have to, because the name is the breadcrumb. This is the kind of Derry history that Mike spends his whole adult life researching in Chapter 2. And if Welcome to Derry feels like it's obsessed with old stories, newspaper clippings, and what happened here before, that's not an accident. In the novel, Mike Hanlon keeps these Derry interludes, basically a history of every time the town went off the rails during Pennywise's cycles. This show is like watching those interludes come to life. That's why you can spot familiar Derry landmarks show up like receipts, the library energy, the standpipe looming in the background, the way the town is filmed like it's holding its breath. The timeline isn't just dates, it's a pattern. And that brings us to the most important 1962 event of all, the Black Spot. In Chapter 1, the Black Spot is a story Mike's family tells him, a tragedy used to prove. Derry has a pattern. Welcome to Derry makes it a central event. And what makes it so disturbing isn't just that something bad happens. It's what it represents. Pennywise doesn't only feed on fear. He feeds on the town's cruelty, on hatred, on a community deciding other people don't count. So the Black Spot isn't just lore. It's a timestamp on the cycle. It's Derry's evil peaking right when Pennywise is awake. Now, while the kids are trying to understand what's happening, the adults, specifically the military, are doing the dumbest thing possible. They try to use it. And that's the other big confirmed piece from 1962. General Shaw has one of the pillars removed and destroyed. Translation: he breaks the cage. That's why the finale escalates into this fog over the town situation. The show is visually telling you, the monster isn't satisfied staying in Derry anymore. But then the kids fight back. And this is the timeline handoff point into the films. Confirmed. They use the dagger to relock the cage and force Pennywise back into hibernation. For another 27 years. They don't kill him. They reset the clock. And right before he goes down, Pennywise drops the most insane connection of the entire season. Marge. 5. The Marge Ritchie Reveal. The show touches the future. In the finale, Pennywise isolates Marge and calls her Margaret Tozier. Confirmed. The show is saying Marge grows up and becomes Ritchie Tozier's mom, and Pennywise proves he's seeing beyond 1962 by showing her a missing kid poster from the future with Ritchie on it. Then he basically tells her, "Your kid and his friends are the reason I die." That's a direct bridge to Chapter 2, because Ritchie is there at the end, when the losers finally destroy it. But here's the bigger point. Pennywise talks like time isn't linear. He says tomorrow and yesterday are the same. So Welcome to Derry isn't only connecting family trees, it's connecting cause and effect. It's telling you, Pennywise knows the end of the story. And what makes this scene even wilder is that Pennywise isn't doing the usual boo routine. He's almost strategic. He's like, if Ritchie is part of the group that ends me, then I don't need to win in 2016. I just need Ritchie to never exist. It's petty. It's terrifying. And it's also exactly the kind of logic a non-human thing would use. And just to be clear, the show doesn't let him succeed here. Pennywise doesn't get to erase Marge. Dick Halloran steps in with his shine abilities long enough for the kids to snap the moment and keep moving. But the damage is done. Because now the audience knows Pennywise is thinking about the end of Chapter 2 while we're still in 1962. And the show leaves you with a terrifying implication. If Pennywise knows who destroys him, does he try to stop them before they exist? Now we jump forward to the scene that makes this connection undeniable. 1988. 6. October 1988. The Chapter 2 scene gets a prequel. Confirmed. The finale ends with a flash forward roughly 26 years later, right before the next feeding cycle. We're at Juniper Hill Asylum. Ingrid Kirsch is still there, older now, still stuck inside the fallout of her past. She hears a commotion, walks into the hall, and we see a young Beverly Marsh with her father, after her mother has just died. And Ingrid says the line, "You know what they say about Derry? No one who dies here ever really dies." That line is the exact line Mrs. Kirsch delivers to adult Beverly in It Chapter 2. So Welcome to Derry is doing something brilliant and cruel. It turns Chapter 2's creepy apartment scene into a psychological boomerang. Because now we know why Pennywise chooses that face. It isn't random. It's tied to one of Beverly's earliest, deepest traumas. Even if adult Beverly doesn't remember that encounter clearly, the fear does. And the show makes sure you feel that connection by bringing back the same young Beverly, actress from the films. It's not a look-alike. It's literally the same face. So when you rewatch Chapter 2 and you hit that apartment scene, it plays differently. Because now you're not just watching Beverly get scared in the present, you're watching a memory being reopened. And this flash forward also locks in the timeline placement. If we're in October 1988, we are right on the doorstep of Chapter 1, which brings us to the handoff. 7. 1988 to 1989. Chapter 1, 2016. Chapter 2. Here's the clean line. 1962 ends with Pennywise forced into a 27-year sleep. 27 years later puts you around 1988 to 1989, the period where Chapter 1 happens. Chapter 1 ends with Pennywise forced down again. Then we jump 27 more years, 2016. Chapter 2. The losers come back and destroy it. The future Pennywise is clearly aware of in Welcome to Derry. So the full modern timeline is 1962. Welcome to Derry, Season 1. 1988 to 1989. It, Chapter 1. 2016. It, Chapter 2. And now we're at the big question. Does Welcome to Derry mean Pennywise can actually change the timeline? Or is the show just revealing that he's always been operating with bigger knowledge than the humans? Here's the clean answer. 8. Confirmed versus important versus unknown. What the show is really setting up. Confirmed. The show is designed as a multi-season story that moves backward through major cycles. Pennywise perceives time non-linearly and can see future details. The finale ties directly into both films, with Ritchie and Beverly. Implied. Pennywise might try to prevent the losers from ever forming by targeting key people earlier in the chain. Parents, mentors, the town's anchors. Whether that becomes literal timeline rewriting, or whether it stays psychological and symbolic. Pennywise nudging history the way he always has, just with more context. Either way, the point is the same. Welcome to Derry isn't just answering what happened before. It's asking, what if the monster knows what happens after and hates it? And that changes how you watch the movies. Because now Chapter 1 isn't just kids versus clown. It's one cycle in a much bigger war. And Chapter 2 isn't just the final fight. It's the outcome that Pennywise is already trying to outrun. Let's end with the clean timeline one last time, so it sticks. Final timeline recap. Cosmic arrival plus the Deadlights leads to Shokopiwa cage pillars contain it. 1908. Bob Gray equals the human Pennywise Mask begins. 1935. Another cycle, teased as a future deep dive. 1962. Welcome to Derry. Season 1. Black Spot. Cage breaks. Dagger relocks. Pennywise. Sleeps. October 1988. Beverly plus Ingrid Kirsch epilogue bridges to Chapter 2. 1988 to 1989. Chapter 1. 2016. Chapter 2. That's the full line. If you want me to do the next step, the deep dive on what 1935 and 1908 could reveal, and what details in Season 1 might be setting that up, drop a comment with the one moment that made you go, oh, this show is not playing. And I'll see you in the next one.